Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We are coming to you with Open Up, a live talk show. My name's RJ Horner, and I am the host of Open Up. I'm also the vice president at Voice of Men 360, and I get to host my own programming as a facilitator at Live and Love Life. So let me run through a brief intro of Voice of Men 360, International Men's Day, and why this talk show, Open Up, is so important and what's it all about. Voice of Men 360 is a not for profit organization. We were founded in 2020 in Toronto, Canada. Many boys and men are seeking help and support in many areas of their life. We understand demands and the support needed when it comes to boys and men in our society. Voice of Men organization was born out of seeing a tremendous need and stepping up to help provide services to help support and overcome men's and boys' life challenges. We're part of International Men's Day. International Men's Day has been serving for over 21 years and is now represented in over 90 countries around the world, where we're joined together and doing various activities regularly. International Men's Day follows six pillars, it's the overall well-being of boys and men, and we follow in their footsteps. So why open up, and why does open up matter? Because we men do not open our hearts and our souls and share and be willing to share what matters to us most. When we keep our emotional challenges within for a long time, at some point it begins to explode and cause damage and health conditions within ourselves. So it's very important for us to be able to create a safe space to allow individuals to share their life journey through our platform. We aim to create awareness about life challenges, struggles, and overcome ups and downs of our men and boys as they go through their lives. There are no limitations with gender, age, nationality, or ethnic groups with sharing your life journey here in Open Up. All walks of life are welcome to participate. Our goal is to make a positive impact on someone's life through this process. Open Up is a live talk show on Sunday mornings from 10 a.m. to 10:30 Eastern Time. Each week we'll bring an individual and share their life experiences with you. We have a special guest today from London, UK. His name is Krish Nath. He's been helping men for many years. He's an accredited clinical practitioner, a clinical supervisor, and chair of standards and ethics. He is a former senior lecturer at University of Surrey, a former principal lecturer in Prague, Czech Republic, and developed and led first men's group at the Priority Hospital in London. Welcome, Krish Nath, to Open Up, and thank you for joining us on this Sunday morning and being willing to share your life journey with us. So first, as we start off, let's talk again. It's about the life journey. Let's go back, if we could, to your childhood and just maybe share some experiences of what that was like for you.
I had a fairly uneventful childhood. Actually, it was a very, mostly pleasurable. There was nothing that was particularly eventful as such. I was always from very early into sports and anything athletic, anything to do with exercise. In early childhood, I was the only boy. I had three other siblings above me, all three females, sisters. And as far as I can recollect, I had a fairly normal upbringing. I got on well with my sisters. They looked after me well. I was in no position to look after them. And the only scary things would, in coming from a third world country, would have been the usual pranks. Sometimes children play on each other, things to do with ghosts and the fear of ghosts. I remember once when I think I was about 2 or 3, and a huge goat. I was standing on a bridge, and a huge goat came and knocked me over into a drain. That was scary. But things like schooling and things, I was fairly conservative and I would say easygoing.
Were you a good boy, well behaved? Were you a troublesome boy? What was that?
There wasn't much chance of not being well behaved, because discipline and showing things like respect and regard for others is something that's drummed into you from a very early point. And if you are if you come from somewhere like the Caribbean, we're talking about a very church-going nation, very conscious of religious disciplines. So living on the right side of life was pretty well drummed into me.
So you're in the UK now. Did you emigrate to the UK at some point? Is that what happened?
Sorry?
Did you emigrate? Did you travel from one country to another, move from one country to another?
Yes, I came here to study at 18.
Sorry?
I came here to study at 18.
At 18. So what was that like then? At 18, moving to a new country to study. I mean, there must have been cultural barriers, things like that. How did that go for you?
Well, Guyana is very much an English-led society. So knowing, reading about England and things, we studied in secondary school the British Constitution, some aspects of British history. And I had a sister, one of my eldest sister was already in the United Kingdom, which probably played a part in me choosing to come here to study. In terms of culture, as I said, I played sports all my life. One of the first things I did on arrival, I think I did this in the very first week of arriving in England, I joined a cricket club, I joined a table tennis club, and I was away. The culture was obviously different, but you get used to that, and I can't say that I had any problems mixing. I went to join a cricket club where I was the only foreigner, and I had to learn very quickly. But I was a fairly outgoing person before I came to England. So interacting with people was not really a major issue for me.
Oh, glad to hear.
The same with the table tennis club. I was the only colored person there. But they responded extremely well to me. They wanted me to play with them. And I was playing in their first team within a few weeks. The same with the cricket club.
So it seems you had no problem fitting in growing up as a young lad, as a young man. And I mean, that's what we're looking for. So how did you make it happen? How did you make that work? You know what I mean? Moving to a new country. I mean, yeah, you mentioned that you joined clubs, you got involved, but what got them to draw to you? How did you fit in a new country at that time?
Well, fitting in is about how you as a person adapt. Yes. And when I joined the cricket club, I didn't join a cricket club to take over. I joined the cricket club to play cricket. So, and playing in a team sport, you have to interact, you have to follow rules, If you don't have good self-discipline, getting anywhere in sports is very, very difficult, because sports in general requires discipline. So when I came to England, I already had that. That wasn't an issue. Yes?
No, yeah,
No,
exactly.
no,
That's the tips I was looking for.
the captain doesn't have to tell me to practice,
Right.
right?
You were already disciplined.
The captain doesn't have to tell me, Krish, there's an important match on tomorrow. Stay away from the alcohol. I would never have entertained the thought of going out having a drink the night before competitions.
Mm.
And that came with me from Guyana. I didn't learn that here.
Mm-hmm. And then, so one of the things we like about you here is that you went on to start your very own men's group there in London. Now, tell us about that, how that came about. What was your purpose behind getting this men's group going?
Well, I'm a senior practitioner of psychology, behavioral psychology, and I had a number of relatively new patients, people who I had only seen once or twice, and recognized it just happened that they were a group of what I would call middle to upper middle class men who were in extremely good occupations, bankers, engineers, lawyers, doctors, who came to see me they were referred to me for conditions like depression, stroke, anxiety, or a panic-related problem. And I recognized that I had this list of new clients who they all had something in common. They had some of their symptoms were very similar. And that was when I first decided to look closely at why, I hadn't observed that before. And I decided to look closely. Men who were unable they were very good at taking responsibility at work, but in other places were avoiding responsibility. Men who were interacting professionally extremely well, and yet they were having difficulty in their personal life with things like personal relationships. And it was becoming very clear to me that this particular group of men, they had a very different construct in terms of how they view the world. And then I came across a book. I don't know if you've seen Iron Man.
I'm not sure I've heard of that one. No.
Okay. And Iron Man goes into culture, men's culture, and highlighted some difficulties which were very pertinent to the group of people I was seeing. I then decided to look further. There weren't a lot written about men back up to 1996. And since then, we've had quite a significant increase in the literature on looking at men and men's problems. But one of the things I realized is that when in my research was going across cultures right across the world, there were lots of similarities in some problem behaviors that were almost trained in or drummed into men.
So you have experience in that area. You've worked with men in that area. If you wouldn't mind telling us one or two of the commonalities that come across that we can work on as men.
Well, the commonalities, I think I mentioned earlier. how they actually interact in their personal relationships, um, their views and attitudes towards responsibilities. Men seem to be very good. These were high functioning people. So we can't say that they're not capable. They didn't have the capacity to problem solve well. They were managing lots of major projects in the workplace. Yet when they get home, that seems to collapse. And this isn't something that you're going to necessarily find in all men, because you have to remember that I'm dealing with a group of men who are already showing vulnerability to mental health conditions. Yes, and there's a biological base to some of that. It's not all men or all females who experience mental health problems. So it was from that population specifically that I was observing the commonalities. Yes, and these commonalities, including talking about their problems. Historically, men are not meant to have problems. Men are not brought up in a way that will allow them to accept having problems, because man the hunter, if you had problems, you were left out of the hunting party. And moving on into the 21st century, man is still a hunter, but we are just hunting in more sophisticated places. We've left the Amazon and the jungles of Burma and Africa. Now we're hunting in boardrooms. Now we're hunting in places as such, And it calls for a different set of skills. It calls for a different set of insight. It calls for different values and attitudes. But we are still hunting. With equality creates a different problem, in that men are not accustomed. They've never allowed themselves to feel comfortable in the boardroom or places as such. Yes, because there was never any women on a hunting party. And therefore, when they have to face up with these issues, sometimes it causes problems for some of them. I mean, we have lots of policies and legislation in order to accommodate gender differences in the workplace and home. But yet, we have situations where women are actually paid a lot less for doing similar jobs to men. It happens in the army, it happens in the civil service, it happens in the banks, it happens in many corporates, and they really have to fight their corner. So the legislations and the policies don't always cover everything, and men don't come forward easily in saying, you know what, this person is performing as good as any man in this office. Therefore, we'll promote them and we will give them the pay they deserve. That does not happen. Lots of females have to go in there and almost become a man in fighting their own corners and fighting twice as hard as most men have to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Certainly it doesn't happen enough anyways.
Sorry?
I said it certainly doesn't happen enough anyways, even in our modern society. It would be beneficial to have more of that happening. But tell me, I mean, you must have helped a lot of people in your journey. I mean, outside of your practitioners, I mean, family, friends, would you mind being able to share something of where they've struggled, you've noticed a struggle, and you watch them overcome it, or you help them overcome it? Would be,
Yes, I mean, right from the cricket club that I've played for over 40 years. I've seen men who had to face the challenge of being a house husband. and
Okay.
it destroyed them. It
Why?
totally destroyed them
Why?
because they just could not handle the fact that their wife was a bigger earner and the major breadwinner, um, and they had to take on the role of, you know, looking after children, taking kids to school, cooking the dinner, cleaning the house. Um, Now, you know, if we take the way in which society has changed in more recent decades, this is going to happen quite a lot because no one has a job forever anymore. Yes, and females are doing a lot better at school than males right across the world, not only in England or North America, right across the globe, even in a small country like Guyana. There's something like 60% of the females who are outstanding in their schoolwork compared to men,
Hmm.
right? So,
Okay.
so,
So
so, so there's a big challenge, and it means it's the ability. Men are good at adapting in certain situations, in others, no. Um, they have a distinct failure in applying the same set of skills that will make a difference and make life easy. If you take, for instance, a family unit, yes, where I have colleagues, whose wife might be a doctor, and they are doing something that pays less, and after having children, they the cost of childcare is the finance doesn't add up to pay childcare
mhm,
when you can do without one salary, the smaller of the two salaries.
right.
Yes,
Yep.
and they have, now I'm not saying, bear in mind, I'm not saying that this happens to all cases.
But it's
It's
common.
a case where, there are cases where this will cause enormous stress to the point of things really falling apart.
Right.
Um, and that's because of the way they've been brought up. That's the way their life their life has been shaped, their thinking, their values, etc.
And that's the way
And
we've been
and
trained
what
for years, for generations too, right? Like that's the way. I mean, our internal systems have been, you know, it's the system we've been learning throughout our generations, throughout our
absolutely,
family.
yes, I agree with that.
So what
Fully.
I mean, at this point, we've got a lot of issues. We're working on them, but what is one solid thing we can do as men to try and overcome these issues?
Well, we need to sort of understand better. We need to take time out to be able to develop our own awareness and insight into how we are motivated, how we are performing. Yes, what's driving us? Is it the ego or is it something else? Yes,
Yeah.
are we able to step back and take a calm look at what's realistic and what's required always? We can do it in the workplace, yes,
Mhm.
but something goes wrong when it comes to doing it in personal relationships. And
Yes.
that's because they have attitudes, they have values, which, as you said already, which has been well and truly reinforced over the years. Um, and they worry about getting things wrong because man the hunter can't make mistakes. Perfection is absolute. Perfection means the difference between having food on the table or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you're growing up with those sorts of attitudes being reinforced, those stereotypes, then in the 21st century, it's going to be a very, very stressful thing to just throw them all away at the drop of a hat. I mean, the sexual revolution has made a huge impact into this because the way partnerships are developing is a lot different from what it were 30 years ago. Never mind 60.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
And it means that the people used to go through a long period of courtship, getting to know each other, understanding each other's strengths, weaknesses, understanding roles going forward.
Right.
That's not often the case today.
Yeah, we're losing that disconnect too as we
Right.
get to know each other. Absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, people will raise an eyelid when you talk about arranged marriages. Yes.
Mhm.
But arranged marriages actually work. In lots of cases, arranged marriages do work because it's very functional.
And there is the courtship process, and there is the get to know you, and that's a long term. Like, it's not just okay, you're getting married. The wedding's next month. You know what I mean? It's not like that, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
there is going through it. Arranged marriages just do it differently.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love comes later on. But in the modern Western culture, it's very different.
Right.
Love comes first, and then the functional parts come later on. And sometimes
Not at all.
we don't get quite to the functional parts.
Right. Right.
In other words, the relationship doesn't function, and
Yeah.
we discover it too late. We discover it too late, and we discover it at great cost.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And as I said, and I'll repeat this, it's the ability to adapt. And the ability to adapt is often interfered with in cases of mental health problems because the brain is not all when people are experience mental health problems, the brain don't always process information that reflects reality. The brain processes information that reflects the way you are feeling at a given time.
I love that. And I think that's the one advice we can take away from your thing is the ability to adapt because we all go through things. We all go through crises. So I thank you because that's exactly, you know what, there was a cultural difference. There was a relationship differences and many differences that you pointed out, and the ability to adapt is the way to do that. So thank you for joining us, Krish Nath, today. Thanks for sharing your life journey. When people like yourself come forward and share their life journey and share it on platforms and social medias like this, it gives people, someone that they can look up to and help change their mindset and change their life and help change the way they look at things. So that's our goal here in Voice of Men 360. We want to bring individuals and allow them to share their journey and have an open conversation about men's problems and challenges, and then how we can help them with those challenges.
And can I say one last thing to you?
Yeah.
My observations in starting the men's group was how easy it was. My job was made simple by having a group of 12 men. It was a closed group when I first started, together And once we took 2 or 3 sessions to get them working together and being open with each other, the job was made very quite simple, because, as I said, they were quite high functioning men. I was there more as a facilitator.
Mm-hmm.
We had 12 sessions and 12 topics. So we looked closely at the difficult issues, things like, men and their relationship with their fathers, men and their relationship with their sons, men and their relationship with their wives or girlfriends, men and responsibility, men and sex, and we just literally spent 2 hours every week over a 12-week period going into real details in all those issues. And what this was giving them, they confirmed this, is a timeout where they can actually focus specifically on these different issues that were interfering with their general functioning.
Exactly. And that's exactly what we're talking about here.
Men find it easier to stop off from work and stop off at the pub and over a couple of beers, where they're in the company of other men, to sit down and talk shop, and maybe they might talk about their difficulties.
Right.
Yes.
They might open up.
Yes.
So I thank you for that. Thank you for that, Krish Nath, for joining us on this Sunday morning. Like I said, that's our goal here in Open Up. We are a live talk show. Again, we started here 10 o'clock this morning. And we have 4 shows currently within Voice of Men 360. You just listened to me on Open Up Sunday mornings at 10 Eastern Time. We have a monthly webinar we host on twice a month, Saturdays, 10:30 a.m. to 11. And then we have Vili, which is a Tamil talk show, again in the live format like we have right now. And I'm told Vili means I, so that's the point of that talk show. And that's Wednesdays at 7:30 and Sundays at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. And then we have panel discussions that we host once a month. That's the current projects going on. We're constantly looking for more opportunities to help and grow. And we're looking at implementing new projects all the time. We have this podcast Open Up, which is in English, and we invite you to participate at your convenience. We're always looking for new interviewees, new speakers, and new people to work with in our Open Up talk show, as well as Vili, the Tamil version. There are no limitations with age, gender, or nationality or ethnic group. We invite you all to participate and share your stories. You want to be a guest on any of our shows, or you're willing to be a part of our organization and help us directly or indirectly, please reach out to us. We'd love to work with you, whether you're individuals, professionals, experts, communities, associations, government officials. We're looking to expand our reach and be of maximum effect. So please reach out to us. We are Voice of Men 360. Our phone number is 437-889-8329. You can email us at info@voiceofmen360.org. And then our website is www.voiceofmen360.org. You can find us on all the social media channels, again, Facebook, and we are voiceofmen360.org. You can find our page and our group on Facebook. And then, of course, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube of the same name. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are voiceofmen360.org. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And continue with your support. Thank you for joining me today. I'm RJ Horner with Open Up. Until next time, better days ahead.
Thank you.